How's it going? I'm Joey here, and I am still your DM for the upcoming actual play D&D show, Keep On Rollin'. Last time we did a little bit of a lore intro to Ruund, and today I want to start taking you through the journey of the first campaign that took place within Ruund. As our main campaign will take place in this ongoing homebrew world that I run, it's important to understand the last campaign that took place within it because it massively affected the political world stage. And in order to understand the current political world stage, we need to take a look at the Pearl Jam Pirates. The Pearl Jam Pirates being the adventuring party from the very first campaign that took place within Ruund, and as such they greatly affected the world as it is today. At least a basic understanding of the ending of the Pearl Jam Pirates' journey will help us understand the situation that Ruund finds itself in when our campaign proper begins. And so, without further ado, let's hop into the very first story arc of the current campaign. We begin our campaign in a world of turmoil. Ruund has been ruled by the world government for 867 years since the government's establishment alongside the creation of the Mantle and Shards of Heroes. While it was initially intended to be a coalition of nations, nowadays it's anything but. The citizens of Ruund's various islands are left subjugated. Wealth is consolidated towards lavish parties for the elite, while the citizens starve. And many suspect that there are forces at play beyond the island's representatives. This is the regime that our story begins in opposition to, as the three who would go on to form the Pearl Jam Pirates, the lost prince Darien Ironborn, the soon-a-dragon Kazuki Goryu, and the exiled Professor Darrow Callan, meet for the very first time in the armory of the Southern Sea Navy base Arcadia on the 1st of Liaha, 867. In the armory, the group lit the fuses to their dynamite and booked it, being spotted on the way out as they had to sprint their way off-island. They barely escaped as Darien took out the eye of the base commander, Marshal John. The building blew up behind them, and the group set sail for the next island, Lucia. Once on the backwater island, they encounter the nervous old Dan, who asked for their help in exchange for temporary shelter. They obliged, and after defeating several bandits, they notice that there's no young people on the island. And in the morning, all of the citizens seemed somehow many years older. The group searched for old Dan's son Lex, who had left the island in search of strength, and placed an advanced aging curse upon his return. While searching, they encountered Poker, a mysterious half-elf on the same quest as them. Lex sensed their presence ahead of time, and he tried to reason with the group at first, though his pleas fell on deaf ears, and a battle ensued, leading to Lex's capture and the ending of Lucia's aging curse. After the battle, Kazuki found a ring that allowed Lex to commune with his warlock patron. She's a mysterious deity that couldn't speak the details of her contracts to any not under her patronage, and so she begged them to come to Kingsglaive so she could commune with them further and ask for proper help. The group officially named themselves the Pearl Jam Pirates and boarded the brand new ship gifted to them by Old Dan, the SS Flow Even. Arriving on Kingsglaive, they were initially met with a fan of their deeds from back on Arcadia, the adoring Fan Maynard, who begged to join their cause. They signed up and fought their way through the tournament, and once they had reached the final round, they were once again faced with Marshal John. During their fight, he took up a paladin oath of vengeance to defeat Darien Ironborn, breaking it and earning the favor of the Oathbreaker Knight upon his defeat. As a reward for winning the tournament, the group was gifted magical weapons that molded shapes and effects to their wills, and also a contract with the patron who had supported Lex. None other than Gransha, leader of Asivas, general of the Great Bloodbath. That's not supposed to mean anything to you quite yet, because in Asivas, which is the hell portion of Afterlife, there rages on an everlasting war known as the Great Bloodbath. And 10 years ago, a portal opened next to the castle of Darien Ironborn's kingdom, Dedosia. This portal caused the Great Bloodbath to spill out and rendered Darien without a home. Although for now, according to Gransha, there are still survivors on Dedosia, and even a way to close the portal. Just before they left Kingsglaive, Maynard begged to join the crew, and he became their very first crew member. On the way, Darien thought of all the years that his people had to fend for themselves, all of the suffering that they went through at the hands of that portal, and with a renewed fighting spirit, the Pearl Jam Pirates hurried off to Dedosia. Now, Dedosia is an archipelago made up of islands that lead up to the island Dedosia proper. When the party first lands on Deadfall, they see nothing but destroyed villages and hell-scorched land. In time, they come across a group of survivors living among the broken remains of their village. They're out of time, out of resources, and out of hope. That is, until Darien reveals that their prince has survived, and he lends aid to the people by fending off a horde of demons that night. In the morning, the de facto leader of Deadfall, Basil, and his soldiers pledge their eternal servitude to Darien Ironborn for saving their village, and they join the Pearl Jam Pirates on their trek through the Dedosian Isles to the Iron Castle. The ever-growing group ventured across the Dedosian Isles to other towns and villages leading up to the capital, amassing allies and an army comprised of whatever tough fighters could survive 10 years of demons. The newly amassed army regrouped at Tilgrave, a mining village with an entrance that would allow them to pass through the mountains and get to the capital castle. As they descended through the mines, they were confronted with a small group of goblins, and in the ensuing fight, Poker unlocked the latent gift of his demon ancestor Thrawn within him. His ancestor came back to life and took control of his body, almost killing Darien in the ensuing fight, before Poker passed out from the sheer amount of demonic power flowing through him. The rest of the group interrogated Poker, and upon realizing that he could potentially learn to control this power, they decided to trust him, if only for now. Upon entering the castle, they learned about the Tranius Tower massacre from some of the survivors. The very same night that the Hell Portal opened, the wizard school Tranius Tower was blocked off by a globe of invulnerability, with no communication allowed in or out. There's only speculation as to what happened to the poor students that night. Therefore, the title Massacre is genuinely just guessing at what could be their fate. Upon entering the Iron Castle, the party met King Voldaren, Darien's thought-to-be-dead father. After a heartfelt reintroduction, he laid out the situation. They've been fending off as many of Hell's forces as they could for the last 10 years, but the portal has remained dormant for the last few days, and they fear that whatever will emerge when the portal reopens, they won't be able to stop. Grantia then reveals the origin of the Hell Portal. She had been working with a mortal named Dario Graves. He had promised her he had a plan to stop the everlasting bloodbath. At the final moment, he used a hidden clause in their contract to reverse her power and keep her held captive. He used her power to open the portal and spill the bloodbath into the mortal realm, forcing her to make Dario's minions her patrons so that they could gather life energy, which is effectively a soul, causing situations like Lucia to pop up all across the Southern Sea. This life energy would be used as fuel to power both the Globe of Invulnerability, keeping Dario's plan locked away from the rest of the world, and to hold open the portal long enough to permanently merge Hell with Earth. Savathun, the court wizard of Dedosia, sent the group to Tranius Tower to investigate the device that kept the Globe of Invulnerability up. They returned with a location and magical signature of the generator, and with this information, Savathun began working on a magical device that would counteract the generator's frequency and temporarily open a hole in the Globe of Invulnerability, letting the party in to free Grantia and defeat Dario Graves. But by the time the device was finished, it was already too late, and the Hell Portal ripped back open, letting in all the demons from the other side. Savathun used his powers to seal off the portal for now, but he can't hold it for very long, so the group has a short window to get in and defeat Dario. Darien and King Voldaren both led the army that the group had amassed into Tranius Tower to fight the reanimated students. During this fight, Poker allowed Thrawn to take over once more, leading to the deaths and wounding of just as many allies as foes. Poker got himself back under control, and King Voldaren could sense that more enemies were on their way. He sent the party up to the top floor to confront Dario, while he, Maynard, and the army stayed by to fend off the horde. As they arrived to the top, they saw Dario, with a true physical body of Grantia crystallized on the roof. Upon seeing this scene and the man who destroyed his kingdom, Darien wasted no time to find an opening to attack. The battle continued, and after taking a serious blow, Dario reached out and absorbed the crystallized life force that surrounded him, unknowingly freeing Grantia from his grasp. The angry patron used her weakened power to assist the party in their battle, ultimately killing Dario and closing the portal to Hell. The party returned to the tower's first level, where they saw King Voldaren laying on the ground. Upon closer inspection, they found that he was injured, but alive, and he fully gave Darien his blessing to take over Dedosia once he passes. At the following banquet, celebrating Dedosia's liberation, the party were honored as Dedosia's saviors. While there was not much for the royalty to offer in reward, honor and the return of his kingdom was enough for the young prince and his newfound friends, though there was still a matter to be dealt with. And during the party, Darien spiked Poker's drink with sleeping potions. After he brought the man up to his room, he struck him down for letting Thrawn out and killing Dedosian citizens. The unwitting party spent the entire next day searching for Poker before deciding that he must have failed to contain Thrawn's power, and he was dragged off to wherever Thrawn's home base is. Leaving reconstruction to the citizens, the party set off to find the missing island of Alta. This ends the very first story arc that our adventurers experienced. Dedosia is returned to a functioning country, and the Pearl Jam pirates have gained the disdain of the world government. Now, if you're a fan with either the show Just Roll With It or One Piece, it would be pretty obvious where my initial inspirations came from. Session 1 was a first-time DM's attempt at remaking Episode 1 of Just Roll With It's Riptide campaign, since at the time it was the only D&D content I had fully consumed. I fully intended on changing Marshall John's name before the session, but I ended up just using it because at the time it was just a game between friends, and friends who hadn't watched Just Roll With It. It wasn't until later on when we started talking about making our own show that I realized how much I took unabashedly from Riptide in this first story arc. Going forward, I'm not going to point out everything that I emulated from the show, but if you're familiar with the campaign, you'll see it, and I certainly won't deny it. Stay tuned, because this campaign was my first time DMing, so as the story progresses, you'll see it become more its own thing, and eventually open Ruund up to a proper D&D setting that our next campaign will be able to exist within. For now, I'm Joey, your DM, and I'll see you next time.